WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello. It's Monday at 4, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Hello, everyone. We're so glad to have you with us again on a sunny but cold Monday in Detroit, but it's okay. It isn't snowing, so there's a blessing in everything. And it's the fourth Monday, so what does that mean? It's a Sheriff Washington Monday. Wayne County Sheriff Monday is the fourth Monday of every month when he brings to us information about the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Washington, thank you again for being with us this afternoon. Unmute yourself. He's just talking.
I got you. I was just talking.
I know.
I look forward to being here. It's good to see you, ma'am, and good to be here with a couple of our hardworking sergeants in our agency, and we're going to have fun today.
All right, absolutely. Introduce our guest you have today.
So we have Sergeant Reed.
Webb?
Well, with the Sergeant Reed is with our web team. Dwight Reed. I said Reed. Dwight Reed, and we have Melissa Trozak, and they're both sergeants with our agency, and they're over our web unit, what we call our web unit, our Warrant Enforcement Bureau. And so they're going to be talking about what it is that we do in the Wayne County Sheriff's Office as it relates to the web unit.
All right, wonderful. Warrant Enforcement Unit.
Yes.
How about that? And I think what's so great about this is I know that there are people out here in the county and around the metropolitan area who really don't know what sheriff's offices do. They know the sheriffs are there and they see the brown uniforms, but they don't know all the things they do. And so this is designed to give our listeners and the citizens a good feel for what goes on in the sheriff's department and how integral a part of the community they really are. Even though you don't see them as much as you see your local police departments, our sheriffs are always out there. They're involved in almost every part of what goes on in Wayne County in this metropolitan area. So we're just pleased to have Sheriff Washington and his sergeants with us this afternoon. Sergeant Melissa, welcome.
Thank you.
Sergeant Reed, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Melissa, pronounce your last name for me again.
It's Trozak.
Trozak, Melissa
Yes.
Trozak, Sergeant
Yes.
Trozak. Okay.
Yes.
Tell us where you're from, how you got to the sheriff's department, and how long you've been there, and all that good information.
I grew up in Downriver and Taylor. I started with the sheriff's department in 2007, so I've been there almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years in May. I got promoted in 2020, so I've been a sergeant a little over 2 years. I've been with the web unit since June of 21.
Okay.
What did you do prior to that? The web unit.
I worked in the jail. When I got promoted. Before that, I was at Frank Murphy Hall of Justice.
Okay, see.
Okay, Melissa, just a question, and we don't see anywhere in our community a lot of women involved in law enforcement. What made you get involved in law enforcement?
I don't come from a family of law enforcement. It's just something I always wanted to do growing up. I wanted to go to the military. That didn't, I didn't do that. So I joined law enforcement.
That's wonderful, but I think we ought to see more women in law enforcement.
Yeah.
I think that it just is a wonderful place to be for women to get young people to know that they can, in fact, get into law enforcement, make a good living, and serve the community.
Yes.
That's what's so important. So important. Thank you. What high school did you go to?
Kennedy.
Okay. In Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
It's closed now.
It's closed. Yeah. Lots of our high schools are closed. Yes.
Yeah.
Sergeant Reed, how
Yes,
about
ma'am.
you? Introduce yourself to us.
Well, like you said, my name is Sergeant Dwight Reed. I grew up here in Detroit.
Okay.
I'm
going to ask you what all Detroiters always ask: East Side or West Side?
Well, I started on the east side and I ended on the west side.
Okay.
I ended up graduating out of Frank Cody up there.
Okay.
Cody's on the west side.
The Cody's on the west side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Northwestern at first.
Okay. That's the question: East Side or West Side? And I did the same thing. I started on the east side and ended on the west side. So
there you go.
We've got both sides of it on our side.
Well, I went to college for criminal justice, so I always wanted to be a cop.
Okay.
And I started here with the county June 1st of 1992. So I've been here for a minute.
You've been around a long time.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I've done pretty much everything except the courts. I did not work in the courts.
Okay.
It wasn't that entertaining to me, I guess. I wanted to
be
get
out
my
where the
hands
action
in on
is.
something. Yeah, I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to be the police,
Oh, you really be the police.
I love it.
That is great. And,
So-
and go ahead.
Oh yeah, well I've been with Web for 2 years now,
Okay.
and it seems like it's a good fit. I really like the job. I wish I would have came out a little earlier for it.
Oh, great, great. Now that we know where you were from and how you got to Web, tell everybody what Web is and what your part of Web is. Melissa,
Well,
what's your part of Web?
Melissa.
Well, we're both sergeants. It's us two. We're responsible for tether installations and maintenance. We'll pick up on the bond violators and tether violators. We'll apprehend them.
Now, are those just juveniles, or is it adults, or what happens?
Just juveniles.
That's important, Sarge. To let
Yes.
Ms. Bell know you deal with the juvenile portion of those who have warrants against them, and so sometimes you may go into schools or something like that. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. We do pick up at schools. We find that to be a lot easier when we go to their schools. They usually tend to we don't have the families to deal, we deal with the school administration, and they're usually very welcoming. So we do go to quite a bit of schools to pick up. We pick up from placements and take them back to JDF. If
And what is JDF?
Juvenile detention.
Okay, just want to make sure our listeners know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So,
Interesting. You mentioned that you pick them up from school oftentimes, and it's easier than picking them up from the home. Talk about that a little bit.
We usually get compliance out of them a lot easier coming from the school. Not that we have.
Because if you go to home and mama's there, mama's gonna be holding on for your life. Don't take my baby.
Sometimes.
Okay. I just want the listeners to hear why.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
if I can throw this in,
Uh-huh.
it takes them out of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
We have an issue with them in their comfort zone. They tend to linger. They want to argue with us more. They want to go and hide in their room. We really need to get them out. So it's a lot easier at the schools.
Mm-hmm. And then get them out with as less confusion as possible.
Correct.
Too. And then and even though it's terrible for the child, it's hard on the parent too. And so to make it easier, so the parent doesn't see their child being taken away, even though that makes it easier for everybody, I'm sure.
So Ms. Bell, I have a question for them, because I'm learning a lot about what they do as well. So I always tell you on these, when I bring different entities of our office in, it's not for me to know every single thing they do, because they do it every day. I just need to know a little bit about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They know a lot. So I need to know, so if they have warrants, I guess you're going to these schools and homes to pick them up and take them down to the juvenile detention facility because they have warrants. What kind of crime have they committed, and what did they do that there was a warrant placed on them? What kind of overall kind of crime?
Good question.
Well, that's a multi question.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not a crime at all. Sometimes it's just that they violated the probation that they were put on for, let's say, truancy.
Okay.
Yeah, we picked them up for small things. It's like truancy. We picked them up for domestic violence. Again, we have picked them up for crimes. Okay. It's crazy, right? You can't imagine that with little kids,
Yeah.
But we picked them up at 11 and 12 years old. It's very surprising.
Go back to truancy for a moment, because I do some volunteer work with one of our middle schools, K through 12, around attendance. And I don't think people know how important it is that children get to school. Sometimes parents don't know how important that is. It's amazing the attendance rate of some of our schools. Kids just aren't going to schools. And in some cases, parents don't seem to understand the importance of that child being in school on time all day. Because even when they do come, they're bringing them at 9 o'clock, 9:30. They've missed the first hour or so of school. And then there are some parents who pick them up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon before school is over. And it's not because the kid is sick or the parent is sick or there's an emergency. Parent said, "Oh, I didn't want to deal with the traffic." Well, now that's an issue that we have to deal with in our entire community on the importance of children going to school every day, all day, because it is simply a school to prison network if they're not in school every day. And so I think we can't talk about this enough, that truancy piece of it. That we need to make parents understand how important it is that the kids are in school. And in some cases, especially grades kindergarten through 5, they can't get themselves to school. So the parent has to be responsible. And I hate to say this, but maybe we ought to put something on the parent and take the parent and put a tether on the parent and make sure the parent's getting that child to school, or some kind of penalty for the parent where they understand how important it is that children are in school.
Well, that is happening, and they're putting the child on tether to make sure it is affected. If the child is not at school, then obviously they're going to violate the parent as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I'd hate to see any parent, violated, but whether the parent be violated than the child, we need to take care of the babies. And if that means we need to do something to the parent, then so be it.
There we go.
So be it.
How do the children feel? And I hate to say children, they are children.
Mm-hmm.
How do they feel about wearing tethers? We in this day and time that, I know the adults, I will see them at the grocery store, with shorts on, and they got their tether on like this badge of honor, how are children really, I couldn't imagine that being a child and being a friend of a child that had a tether on. I don't know how I would feel. What kind of reaction do you get from them, the ones that have to wear tethers?
we just run into that.
These are good. There's questions I'm wondering about now. I'm learning a lot about this today.
First thing I tell them too is they're not built for comfort, so that doesn't help either.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And they're huge. They're hideous.
Right.
And it draws a lot of attention, a lot of negative attention. Some of them actually don't mind it. It gives them street credit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But other than that, they hate those things with a passion, and
Yeah.
they fight us the entire time. They refuse to charge them. They try their best to get it so it's not working.
Wow.
Really?
They damage the equipment. We're
Wow.
back and forth. We're always going back and forth. We see the same kids 3-4 times in a couple of months. Easy.
Yeah.
So you're not getting real cooperation with their parents then. They're not really monitoring that.
They're not that helpful a lot of times.
No. I think the ones that go to school are embarrassed the most because they have, they're afraid that it's going to go off in school while they're sitting there in class, and their alarm.
Go ahead, Ms. Bell, you have something?
What reason would it go off in school while they're sitting there?
Low battery, usually. A low battery would send it off.
If they didn't take the time to charge it?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah,
So-
if it's going low.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah.
So when
They're responsible for charging it. What do they? Do they get a charger that plugs in? How do they do it? Just like a regular phone?
Just like a cell phone.
Yeah, 2 hours a day. We tell them that it needs to be charged 2 hours a day.
So they have to sit still somewhere.
Yes, for 2
Sit
hours.
still, watch some TV,
Yeah.
play video game, whatever it is they need to do for 2 hours.
Read a book.
Yeah.
Please.
Read a book.
Read a book.
Read a book.
Right. How to stay out of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how to fill out this college application.
Exactly.
My goodness.
Study for your test that you should be passing on Friday.
Yes. Yes. So now this young person has been in court for whatever the reason. The judge has determined that I'm not going to put you in the juvenile detention facility. I'm going to let you go home, but you've got to wear this tether. And then how long the judge determines how long they wear the tether?
They, at the end, they end up determining how long they're going to be on tether. I believe it's a minimum of 30 days. All they have to do is do what they're supposed to do while they're on it.
Oh.
Charge it, stay within the boundaries, let the parent know where they're going, let their caseworker know where they're going. Just asking permissions. It's not really that hard, but a lot of them just can't do it.
So they don't have zones like necessarily. There's on the crime, I guess, where exclusion zones where they can't go into a certain area. If they just need to let their worker know that, hey, I want to go out of town maybe, and I'm going to be with my parents for a week or something. Is it something like that?
That's correct. And then that zone is added to their map.
Oh.
So they have a map. Let's just say they go to work, they go to church, they go to school, and they're at home. Those 4 spots are placed on their map. They have so much time to get from point A to point B. And if they're outside of that zone too long, then the alarm will go off.
Wow, now that's something I never even thought of. So you have this tether, and you can electronically determine how this or the parameters that this child can go from 8 Mile to the river, or from DeQuinder to Telegraph, whatever that is.
It's usually a building.
Okay.
We'll designate the building as their perimeter. And that's it. They go outside of that and they're outside. Let's just say they have to walk to school.
Uh-huh.
And they already determined how long it takes them to walk to school. They have that much time to get to school before the alarm goes off.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And that's based on how often they go. So you develop a time, how long it takes, or how do you know how long it should take?
Well, from what I hear, they're using the Google Maps.
Gotcha.
And they just plot it in.
Our kids play on the way to school and stuff if they're walking.
Correct.
We played and then we'd be late for school because we playing all the way there. So,
well, they know they only have so much time to get there.
Gotcha.
Wow.
That's when kids walk to school. I don't even know.
Does anybody walk to school anymore? Is the question. Yes.
Look, my boys are 36 and 34, and they've never walked to school. So
mine either.
Yeah.
They caught the bus.
Right. No, we had to take them. We drove them. Yeah. It's a whole different day.
It is a completely different. Now, my grandkids have never walked to school, but my kids did walk to school. Of course, they're considerably old. They're almost as old as you. They're about almost as old as you are. So
we walked to school.
They did walk to school.
Yes, but that's when schools were in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
There was schools in your community.
Exactly.
Live anymore.
They were walkable.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Unfortunately, that day is over.
And that's a sad thing.
It's a sad thing.
And again, I think that has a lot to do with our attendance rate also, that the schools are not in the neighborhood. So children can't get there as readily as they used to be able to get there. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But there's all sorts of issues a lot around attendance that would cause children not to be in school. But I want to go back to the tethers and how you map it. I think that's fascinating that you can decide that, you can go to this school and you can go to that building, you can go to church, you can go to wherever, and Google Map puts that into an app on their tether.
Yes, ma'am. It's an app provided by our vendor.
Wow. Okay, Sheriff, I'd like to sometime come and see it. I mean, it's just fascinating, but I'd love to see one. See how they do that.
No, and you know what? And you're going to be in our Citizens Academy, and I don't know that. Webb is going to be a part of that presentation and things as well. So, guys, get ready. We're going to be having a Citizens Academy. I don't know if anybody has told you all about that yet, but we're going to be highlighting pretty much everything we do in the sheriff's office. So I know, Miss Bell, I told you, I signed you up at first.
Yes, you did.
You want to know.
Yes.
And you should be getting a letter in the mail, if not an email soon anyway. So watch out for that.
I will.
But
yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think people would really like to see how it works and know how it works, that the technology is such that we can do that. Yes. And we can do it in a fashion that's accurate and make sure that they are where they need to be when they're supposed to be there. Now, let's say they violate it. How soon after they violate something do we know it, and can we do whatever take the appropriate action?
Yeah. It has to go through the court first. Their caseworker is notified right away, but if they wanted to violate, to have a writ, it has to go through the court first.
Okay, we have to have authority to go get it.
Okay, so they do something wrong, you contact the caseworker gets in contact with someone representative of the courts, and then they determine whether whatever the violation is serious enough for you to go and get them, correct? So if they tamper with the tether, then what happens? Can you just go get them then? No. Or you still have to wait for a court order?
Everything has to be authorized.
We still have to wait.
You still have to wait for a court order.
Yeah, we'll usually go out and provide maintenance, which we'll swap it out with another device, and it still will go through the court, but yeah, we'll swap it out for a new one.
Okay, so how long do they get? Suppose the kid takes it off, and it's relatively serious crime. I don't know, stealing a car or whatever, and your information tells you that this tether is not. I mean, can you tell it's not on his leg? I guess it's the first thing.
Yes, usually, yeah. Yeah, because if it still has battery power to it, it'll show us where it's at.
Okay, so it'll tell you that this kid has found a way to cut this off, somehow take this off of his leg.
Yes.
Now you get that notification. You have to contact then the social worker or his worker. The worker then has to contact the courts, and then the courts have to contact you to go find this person.
Well, we're not the first to know.
Yeah.
We actually have a vendor that monitors it. That's an outside agency that actually monitors it, and they inform the caseworker.
Okay.
So once the vendor knows, Ms. Bell, the vendor calls the officers and they call the officers and let them know that one of your people have to the tether is off or some kind of alert, and they have to look into it.
Mm-hmm. And what's the time frame associated with that? Is it a day, 2 days, a week, hours? What is it?
We usually go out and look for them as soon as we get notified that they possibly cut it off. If it's just sitting somewhere, we want to go and make sure that the child isn't, near it, or it's just standing in place with the child. So we want to go and check that out as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a wellness check as well.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure the child is okay.
Yeah.
Because it will report that the child has been sitting still for so many minutes, so many hours, and that's not possible.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we definitely want to get out there right away once we find out that they have started tampering with the strap.
Yeah.
So they keep cars and because they have to be available 24 hours, 7 days a week, so they can go check onto that. So they have vehicles that's at their access all the time. So that there are children. We definitely want to, as Sergeant Reed said, well-being checks. Make sure that nothing happened to them or something like that. But you know what I want them to tell you about also, as we are in 2022 now, and things have certainly changed in the world. It's very important that our staff, those that work web, Sergeant Reed and Sergeant Trozak, they deal with juveniles, and when we're talking about dealing with juveniles and dealing with juvenile girls as well, it was very important that we not have this entity of our agency just full of men. You follow me?
Absolutely.
So we had to have women to make sure that we're handling our female children, that they're doing that properly, and there's no room for any kind of accusations or anything like that. Because unfortunately, these girls are smart, and boys too,
Sure.
and they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get you in trouble, and so you have to be very careful about how we do that. So we strategically make sure that we're in a position where we can have a male and female officer dealing with those kind of sensitive. And anytime we're dealing with juveniles, it's sensitive.
And that's so important. I appreciate your saying that. That is so important that we give them that kind of respect and that kind of situation. Those situations where, and maybe this kid just had a bad day.
Yes.
And they just need a little help in getting themselves back on the right track.
Right.
And we need to have everybody we can to help them get there.
Absolutely.
That is so important.
Absolutely.
So important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They can look up to our officers, whether it be male or female, and feel comfortable talking about it, and hopefully steering them on a pathway where we won't keep seeing them.
Yes. And that's the issue, is that we don't have as many repeat offenders, because I'm sure Melissa and Mr. Reed, Sergeant Reed, you see some of the same kids all the time, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, we get to know them and their families.
And their families.
And that's so unfortunate. So unfortunate that you see the same children all the time. And are there, the courts probably, and the social workers are probably the ones that have to deal with this, but aren't there services that can help those children and those families, people they can talk to that will help them try to get past whatever the issue is?
Yeah, most of those kids are in programs.
Okay.
They're in, whether it's drug or mental health, anger management. They have a lot of coping skills they teach them. They just required to go to those meetings, go to those classes, and it's kind of hard to get them there. A lot of the caseworkers have to actually go and pick them up to bring them.
Wow, that's so that says to me that the family situation is not as strong as it needs to be to give that child the kind of support they need to get
past the times that we're in.
Yeah. And that's been going for a long time. Unfortunately, years ago, back in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, when I worked in another agency, and I worked in what we call a special crime unit, a gang squad unit, and you're dealing with these young kids, and unfortunately, the parents would come to get them, and we'd have to say to ourselves, it's not even the child's fault. It's I mean, look at how the parent is coming at us, like we did something wrong, and unfortunately, those are the things our officers, our sergeants have to deal with when they're dealing with those kids. Sometimes those kids just starting out behind the 8 ball, and it's so unfortunate.
Absolutely. Trying to give them a leg up is going to be so critical. And particularly after the last couple of years, everybody has been under such stress.
Yes.
This last couple of years, and children are feeling it probably even more so than the adults are feeling it, because they've had school situations and community groups that they can't really get out and have the activities that they're accustomed to having, can't be around their friends as much, and so they're feeling the stress just like the adults, but as I say, probably even more so, because they are children and they don't have the same kind of coping skills that the adults have, or the same experiences that adults have had to try and get them through some of these issues. And so we've got some work to do to help our children get past whatever this is we're all going through, because we're all having issues with whatever this is.
That is true. And
There are days.
Right. Hopefully we're almost done with it.
Well, we're gonna pray on that. We're gonna continue to pray that that's the case, because it's been quite a time in the last couple of years. Quite a time.
Well, I have another question for them, Ms. Bell. If you, because I keep telling you, I'm learning something.
Absolutely.
So,
I like your questions.
So this county is a big county, and we're traveling all over the county doing this kind of work. How far does this take you all, sergeants? That you're dealing with the children that may have these type of situations and warrants and things like that. Is it a certain pretty much radius around Wayne County, or does it take you all over the county? Talk about that a little bit.
We've gone out of state.
Really?
We've met
Really?
officers out of Ohio. We've gone up north as far as Grayling.
Wow.
So, yeah, we're all over the place.
When you say you've gone out of state, you mean that the child has left the state
Yes.
and you've been notified by the vendor that, this tether is in Cleveland, Ohio, or
Well,
Columbus, Ohio, or someplace.
We have a partnership, and we talk to other agencies, and we kind of work out deals, and we meet them.
Okay.
How's that to pick
I
the
got
challenge?
okay.
I got it. Yeah, I get it. I just I know Wayne County is bigger than some states, and it takes you, and that's just the county, and it takes them so far away that they have to go all over the county to do what it is that they do.
How many officers are in the web unit?
Just us.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's one of those units, Sheriff, you've been talking about. You need some help. You need some
I
more
need
people.
some help. I'm hiring.
That's one of those units where you need some help in.
They can get good jobs right now.
Okay.
Right.
And we haven't talked about that for a while, but
We
you
don't.
might want to say a few words about that, because we've talked about the job vacancies you have. So talk about that a
No,
little bit.
we definitely have job vacancies. Most of them are obviously in our courts. It's the biggest thing that we do. And our courts in our jails, that's where the vacancies are. The biggest thing we do. Courts are a big thing that we do as well. And we mandated to supply that with the adequate amount of deputies. But we definitely are short, and we need people to come into the agency and get a good job. Right now, we're at a place where, thanks to our CEO and Warren Evans and who has been helping us tremendously, we're now we're compatible to any of our police agencies around our area as it relates to starting pay. So it was a time. It is absolutely. So it was a time that people would come and say, "Oh, Wayne County Sheriff's paying somebody else, Detroit Police paying a little more," and they go for that $1 or $2, whatever the difference was. But now we're right there, so we're compatible. So we're telling people to come on over into our agency. Recruiting is huge, a huge piece of what we're doing right now. And we got 3 recruiters now, and we're going to have another one. It's going to still be 3, but they're actively out recruiting, and we're at recruiting fairs and job fairs and any place we can be, grocery stores, Sam's Clubs. We posted out in front of everybody. You want a job? We have a job for you right now. And so, so we're getting that out, and we're doing a good job. With hiring.
Great.
Our classes are becoming graduation classes are in their 20s and things, and
You just had a class graduate, didn't you?
One Friday had a nice size class graduate Friday, and we're doing the work. Now we got to look at trying to retain those who are eligible to leave. Sergeants like Sergeant Reed, who we're gonna make sure he stay here with us.
Okay, Sergeant Reed, you can't go. You heard that, right?
So it becomes a retention issue, recruiting and retention, and so we found out how to get them in. How we got to make it attractive.
To keep them.
To keep them past their time to retire. I tell them all the time, I'm 39 years into this game every single day for 39 years. Okay, 1983. Do the math. October it'll be 39 years, and I'm still here. So if I can still be here, they can still be here.
Come on, hang in there with you.
because as Melissa was saying, and Sergeant Reed, this is what we signed up to do in law enforcement. Seriously, this is all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but that didn't work out. So I became a police officer because that's what I wanted to do since I was a child. And I followed that path, and I became a police officer in 1983. And actually, prior to that, in 1978. And thank you all for thinking I don't look that old, but I became a Michigan National Guard, a military police officer in 1978. And while I was waiting to get hired with the Detroit Police Department, but they was going through some layoffs at that time, so I went to the sheriff's office. And did that for 2 years, from 83 to 85. Then got called and went to the Detroit Police Department. And I've been doing this, again, 39 years plus my reserve time when I was 1 weekend a month, 2 week summer camp as a military police officer. I'm well over in the 40-something years in
Wow.
law enforcement. And I'm not tired yet. I love it. I'm
still loving it, huh?
never worked a day in my life.
All right, there you go.
Serious, because
tell our listening audience what it takes to be a sheriff, how they can get hired, what they need to do, how they need to do.
A GED or a high school diploma will get you started. And you fill out a 2-page application that used to be a 12-page application. We narrowed that stuff down, and so we would make it attractive for those that when we're out recruiting, they don't have to sit with us for a long time trying to fill out a 12-page application. We get their information, we start the background on them, and then they'll go through a test, a general equivalency test that everybody can pass, and then they'll go through a physical agility test, and we'll do a background investigation on them. And within a couple of months, and we're working to make sure it's within a couple of months of them really following the process, we can get them into our academy. And they become, they train there for somewhere about 10 weeks or so, 8 to 10 weeks or something like that. And then they're out here ready to start with our agency, and they're getting paid while they're in our jailers training. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And they start off in the jail. Is that correct? Everybody starts out in the jail.
Contractually, they have to start out in jail for 6 months, working on the floors, and then after 6 months, they have other things that they can do within our jails, like our classification units or our registry units and things like that. Our hospital, what we call our RDC unit, they can work in those kind of places and don't necessarily have to be on the floors. And so yeah, there's some things that they can do. Even
and what's the starting salary?
$40,800.
Really?
Something like, yeah. I always keep it by my.
Wow, that's up from when I used to know it.
Oh no, well, somebody asked us, well, what did you start in 1983? I was like, I can't even tell you. It was something like $9 or something, or something like that, But it didn't even matter to us, because that's what we want to see. It matters to these young people now. They want to know how much you pay, how many vacation days I get, how many sick days I get, what to do. I'm working holidays. Do I have to work weekends? All these questions that we didn't even think about it. We was like, let's go, But that's where we are now. We got to answer those questions. Sergeant Reed can tell you.
Oh yeah.
We didn't even want to take days off, if you can believe that. We did not.
Wow.
If they said you have to take a vacation, we were mad about it. We calling our friends. Really, I'm telling you the truth. We calling our friends every night. What y'all do today? Did you get shot at? What happened? I'm telling you the truth. This is what we wanted to do, and so it's still a noble profession, and people should really. We're trying to turn this around and get people back interested in law enforcement, because it is a noble profession and it is what we need. Who wants to live in a society where you don't have law enforcement?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
that's what we want to do, and that's what we ask all of our members to recruit. To please let your family and friends know the Wayne County Sheriff's Office has some 200 or so jobs available for you right now. Period.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, as always, Sheriff. You're always a bundle of information. You bring on wonderful people. Thank you so much to the sergeants. Sergeant, I'm just so glad to have you on with us, Melissa. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And it was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot better
I told them this 45 minutes go by so fast.
Yeah.
And they get comfortable. Now they want to keep going.
Well, that just means they have to come back.
Exactly.
You have to come back because there's probably a lot more that people are going to want to know about the the web unit. It's such an interesting department, especially if there's only two of you and you're doing all of that.
They're doing a lot. They're doing a lot. They're doing a good job. They want to get them some more people out there, but we got to get more people in the jails. That's what we have to do.
Yes. So, yeah. Yes. Thank you so much again for being with us. We are just pleased to have all of you with us. Sheriff, as always, thank you so much for being so accommodating and being on with us. We appreciate that. And did I say that the sheriff is running for re-election this year? Did I say that? I don't know if I can say that. I probably can't say that. I'm sorry, Sheriff. I can't say that.
You can say it to you. Radio show.
Say that on air that the sheriff is running for re-election and I'm supporting him. Oops. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's your radio show. And for Melissa and Reed, just so you all know, Ms. Bell is the mother of our chairwoman over the county commission, Alicia Bell. And Ms. Bell was actually a county commissioner herself. So don't let her think that she just finding something to do. She's been working for the county for a long time.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And to the listening audience, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. You'll see us again next Monday at 4:00. You'll see the sheriff again on the 4th Monday of April at 4:00. And as we end every show with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great. Because greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love to be great. And I consider these officers great at what they do. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next week. Everybody have a wonderful week. Thanks for joining us on the Community Bell Show. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.